Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Mount Schmoedown. We are back. We apologize that we weren't here last week, guys, but all of us we had Wi-Fi issues, or we probably the New Year's were still hitting us hard, but we are here. I am your host, Ryan Payne. Along with me is my co-host, Ben Rayner, and unfortunately, Brandon couldn't be with us today, but even though we are still here, we're going to be talking, but we have ourselves a special guest joining us from our last episode. We talked about Brian Chandler. It is Jay Scott for real. Jay, how you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me back. And I am certainly excited to be included in the conversation for one of my favorite teams and the longest running team in Schmoedown history.
That is correct. Yeah, everybody. If you clicked on the link, if you've seen the thumbnail, if you just clicked on this video, you know exactly who we're talking about. We are talking about Greg Alba and John Humphrey, the real rejects. And just as Jay said, longest running team to date.
They're one of the most entertaining teams. Like, I hear how the Wild Berries on top. And right under them, I have the real rejects, in my opinion.
That's 100% true. The one thing about the Schmoedown is that they've always been very entertaining. Real rejects. They're one of the first early teams to start off too. If we're looking back at season 3 when they did start during that time of Collider, when it was a very, very early year, they were the first early team because at that time they were there at the formation of the Patriots. They were there when Top 10 was around, when Christian and Mark Ellis were the Schmoes, when Brianne Chandler was there for her team of 6 Degrees, and when Team Trek. So Real Rejects, they were there kicking off the ground running. May have not had the best luck in teams matches, but you can't lie and say that they were always entertaining to watch. Greg always had the best quips, or he was always there just to crack a joke and just to have fun.
And even they're great when they're together, and they're really good. They're really solid separately too. I mean, Sean Humphreys basically won the first free for all, right?
Oh, he was the MVP of the free for all.
MVP.
Yeah, but go ahead, Jay. You look like you're about to say something.
Oh no. I was just gonna basically say the same thing that you said. I was gonna confirm the fact that while he didn't outright win the free for all, he certainly made a splash and definitely left a legacy that, in my opinion, there have been a lot of iconic performances and a lot of iconic moments in subsequent free for alls. I don't know if that obviously Bibiani had his still standing moment, but I don't know. As I think, as far as an unexpected player just kind of coming out of the gate, getting a really low number and going almost all the way, I still think nobody has quite recreated what John Humphreys did.
That is 100% true. It is obvious when it came with free for all. Everyone automatically sees Bibiani because that man has knowledge for days. The still standing moment, him coming at number 1 in the free for all 3, but still, yeah, John Humphrey, he was number 4 in the first free for all. Really lasted a long time. When looking at the stats, he lasted 11 rounds, and that was definitely unknown at the time, especially when Bibiani had just joined them. And Bibiani was on that table with the legendary XX5XX with Mark and Draco. And who knows, if he did not get eliminated, he could have ran that tape. He could have possibly gone all the way to the end as well. But, we'll never know. But Bibiani proved that free for all 2 and the third one that it doesn't matter where he's positioned. If he's lucky with the questions, or if he just get going.
Even Bibiani's new partner, Brendan the Kid Meyer, he himself had a nice little run there in a free for all. But what I think separates John and his performances, it was so unexpected.
Yes.
And we're talking a lot about John, but that's not to sleep on Greg Alba. I mean, he's solid too.
Oh yeah.
If we can look at that comment that Brian had just said there, they have great entrances. That's 100% true, especially at that. If we got to talk about the entrances, the Free For All 3, Greg Alba comes out with his entrance, pretty much recreating the.
He was Jackson Maine, Bradley Cooper's character from A Star Is Born.
Yeah,
The
more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking about that, and I just can't keep laughing. He's doing the drunken walk, and then just with that water bottle in his pants, just pulling that moment off. I mean, it's sad though because he was playing the actual song from A Star Is Born, "Let the Old Ways Die." But unfortunately, because it was copyright, they had to play some copyright-free music over it. But still, if you listen very well, if you listen very carefully, you can still hear Bradley Cooper going, "Well, it's time to let the old ways die." Like, you can still hear that. But it's still a great, memorable moment. Even that moment was so memorable. It was like whenever you see a Nerd Cry promo, like during season 7, when it was season 6, when it was doing that Schmoedown, you can see slightly there in the background that, like in maybe a 2 or 3 second like quick cut, you see that Greg Alper's entrance is there. It's just very amazing.
Yeah, well, you kind of talk about how the copyright issues of the music kind of maybe take away from that moment a little bit, but it kind of speaks to the evolution of the Schmoedown itself as it's gotten bigger and gotten more eyes on it. But the Real Rejects themselves have been a crucial part to that in upping the ante and evolving as a team and helping to evolve the Schmoedown. But in terms of entrances, I frequently compare them to a team that I call their sister team because they came up around the same time. And that was 6 Degrees with, we spoke about Miss Movies a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. Go ahead. I mean, the comparison, go ahead.
We just mentioned that entrance at Free For All there, but I also think they also participated in another live event with the Wildberries, who Brian Nussbaum compared them to. That was certainly a legendary entrance there. We can get into the specifics of that. But I also think of the first Double Toasted match in studio.
That's correct. Yeah. Double Toasted. That match was kind of very interesting, I have to admit, because rewatching that match, I was kind of surprised how the whole way was going, because at first it looked like the Real Rejects, they had that match in the bag. It really looked like it was right there in their grasp, and then just right at the last moment, oh my God, that round 3 going back and forth. I mean, if Corey from Double Toasted was not like, if he did not know his 3-pointer, that match really would have been the Real Rejects win. And they came off, and it's funny, they came off that match after winning against the Wangers when they had for the retirement match. Because, let's just get talking about their important matches. I mean, Double Toasted, but when they started off, they really weren't like, they had like an 0-2 record at the end of that season 3, to where at the early start of season 4, they played the Wingers in a retirement match, which was insane because unfortunately that was a gimmick that Christian only used rarely, especially when Ben, me, and you, and Brandon talked about Josh McCouga. Yeah. He played a retirement match against Finstock, which he won. And now, of course, we know this past season, he did a retirement match against Dewberry, in which he lost, and so he is retired. But I doubt he's going to stay retired long. But still,
he'll be back. No question in my mind. Vancouver will be back.
Oh yeah, but still, the idea of the retirement match was kind of an interesting notion because it's like one of those few stipulation matches we don't see much in the Schmoedown anymore. I mean, I know Schmoedown is becoming more sports-centric, but it was during that early years, Christian was very favorite. Was really, not only did he love the wrestling storyline ideas, he wanted to do wrestling gimmick matches in the Schmoedown, which is why we talked the retirement match, them going against the Wangers. And look at that match. I mean, honestly, it really could have been anybody's game, and especially with the Real Rejects in the second round. They spun opponent's choice against the Wangers, and the Wangers could give them anything. They gave them a mixed bag, and they got so lucky with the questions by pulling out 8 points just to get themselves the lead.
See, I think they were not quite as entertaining as the Wildberries, but I think they're a little bit more knowledgeable than the Wild Berries. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense because their channel, the Real Rejects, they do talk about movies. They do trailer reactions,
Right.
similar to like other now more fan groups like the Late to the Party, like even people they brought in like Taylor Robinson, and it was just kind of a situation to where they got noticed first, and I think also they. Oh my god! I wish I can't remember if they knew Christian before or Christian reached out to them, but it was just funny in that situation to where, God, it was so hard. It was so. If they had lost that match against the Wangers, my God, that would have been that would have been very interesting. Like, where the hell would have gone in the Schmoedown? Would they have been singles players moving forward, or they have been paired up in different teams?
Yeah, Leo brings up a good point. I kind of alluded to the evolution of the team, but yeah, it just goes to show how far they've come in their first match against ETC there. ETC was that was Elliot Dewberry and Ricky Hayberg.
Right.
Yes.
Some of the best heels in the game, if you're asking me. But that being said, the Wangers were kind of the first one of the first teams that I felt were actually. I'll give them ETC. ETC was on the same level as them as far as a channel comprised of two guys talking about stuff that pretty casual, but obviously had some knowledge there. Whereas Wolves of Steel, I mean, those are no schlubs there. So
Go ahead, Ben.
When you hit a Real Rejects on the first babyface team.
I mean, I'm not sure they're the first babyface team. I mean, because technically, I think they were the more. I don't say jump. I mean, their match against the Wolves of Steel, obviously, they were coming off very respectful and sportsmanlike because when in round 2, when Wolves of Steel got opponent's choice, they were being very humble and honorable, kind of like, what do you want, pick? What do you want? Like they were being gracious to them. And when it comes to that match against the Wolves of Steel, unfortunately, that was because they lost that match because when they played them, they gave Wolves of Steel 90s. Wolves of Steel got 10 points though, but everyone thought that it was going to be like a big, like a big sign around them. Like it was going to be their marker, their shame.
Their scarlet letters, I think is what you're looking for.
Yes. Everyone thought it was going to be their scarlet letter, their big walk of shame. But be honest, looking at that match, even though they were ahead against the Wolves of Steel, they did steal 2 points off of them from the opponent's choice, preventing them from sweeping the category. So they still had a fighting chance. And looking at round 3, all they did was miss their 5-point question because I believe it was Riley who missed a 1-pointer in Disney. Clark got 80s, and then they got Star Wars for their 5-pointer. The Real Rejects, they got their 1-pointer in Marvel, they got their 3-pointer in Directors, and then they missed a 5-pointer in Fantasy Sci-Fi. So either way, that match really could have gone either way, and that determined exactly where they were going to go at the end of the season because Wolves of Steel, they had lost against Heroes in their debut match. So if they had lost the Real Rejects, it would have been very interesting if they were the ones to get that loser breaks up match because Wolves of Steel, they didn't have another team match afterwards. Afterwards, they played against No, they did have another team match after that. But it was just funny because seeing their growth of evolution, and if you really track between season 3 and 4, I know I mentioned in the past that especially after season 6, Christian wanted to do the idea of Patreon what if matches. It would have been a very funny what if match that if the Wolves of Steel had lost against Real Rejects, would it have been the Wangers against Wolves of Steel in a retirement match or a loser breaks up.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I love about rewatching these old matches because you really get to see so many different. Oh, this could have been a very interesting situation. Like we talked about this with Mance, Ben. Like we could have gotten. There were 3 opportunities where we could have gotten a Roca Mance 3, either in singles or teams. Yeah. Especially with ETC when it came with Dewberry, there was opportunities where he and Ricky, if they had beaten Wolves of Steel, they could have had a shot against the Patriots. And the last time when we talked about Knapsack, if he and Rachel had beaten Rotten Tomatoes, they could have played the Patriots. So looking at the Real Rejects, kicking off their season, who would they have played against? Let's just say in a what-if situation scenario, they could have played the Patriots. How could have that gone down?
Did they ever play the Patriots?
No, they haven't. I'm just saying in a what-if scenario.
No, I know. Okay.
Well, if we want to play out the what-if scenario, I mean, as big a fan as I am of the Real Rejects, I would say at this point in time, they weren't cutthroat enough to be able to take JTE and Jeff Snyder out at their prime. As much as I love these guys, we've already alluded to how entertaining they are. They definitely have the knowledge, and it's kind of any match that they had, it's just a matter of which way did the wheel go. How did they decide to divvy up those, at that point in time, 2 and 3 point questions, or 1 and 3 point questions then. But it's definitely an interesting, I think you could do that throughout their career. What if they had been a little more cutthroat with Wolves of Steel? What if they had taken out 6 Degrees?
The reason why I asked that kind of question. Oh, sorry.
No, please, after you.
Oh, go ahead, Ben.
No, I really
No, you were
saying
saying.
it's interesting to think about, like, how long could they have gone if any of this happened? I don't know.
Well, here's another side of it. They are the longest standing team in Schmoedown history. Had they been put in some of these other positions, I think that's what Ryan was getting at. Would they still be a team, or would we be seeing situations where Greg and John went on to play, more solo matches, or maybe contribute to other teams?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I asked that question, because things could have ended for them very early during that season. And sure, they don't have the biggest record like what comes with most teams. But as we're going to keep saying, they are a long-standing team. They survived a lot of loss. They survived losses. I'm not sure if they ever were brought in contention for Anarchy, but the fact that the Wildberries were able to survive Anarchy, I'm pretty sure the Real Rejects could have survived. And the fact that the draft happened, we lost the Wildberries. We lost a lot of solid teams from the draft. The Real Rejects were the only ones to survive that. And coming with the draft, and with the draft coming up this year, in 2 weeks, that's even a bigger question, a bigger notion. What teams are going to survive this season for next first meet? Will the Real Rejects survive? Especially, we're going to go back to talk about the teams, but let's talk about quickly in season 7 their area playing in Inner Geekdom. Because if we look at their performance in Inner Geekdom, John and Greg pulled out amazing performances in their first matches. They lost their second ones, but they still did a great job in their first matches.
Greg took Mike to the limit on that one match. That was an incredible match that Greg almost beat KO in.
100%. That's amazing, though. It was season 7. It really was the year of upsets. And if Greg had beaten Kalinowski, that would have truly been the biggest upset. No disrespect to Perry. I love the fact that Perry beat Mike, and congrats to Perry for winning upset of the year. But that would have been a hard match to overlook, because that would have just definitely destroyed Mike's run throughout the entire year. Because, Greg, Brian, love this IG name, Greg Idris Elba. That's one thing about Greg, his humor. He was never afraid to really just make fun of the hot topic of the hot button issue at the moment, especially season 7. If we're talking about Schmoedown Awards, when he had come up with entrance of the year and lost to John Roca in his match against Cuckoo's Mess, what does John and Greg do? They come out to the Roca's music, dressed in masks. That exchange is just amazing. If we I would say that, honestly.
Just kind of going back to the recent Inner Geekdom tournament, we kind of talked about Greg's performance there.
Mhm.
And you talk about how it would have been an upset had he beat Kalinowski, and the fact that it was an upset when Perry beat Kalinowski. But I'd like to say that when John Humphreys beat Janine, that was an upset.
Yeah.
You guys,
I'm there with you. Either any of John or Greg's matches really, I mean, John's match really was a true upset because Janine, she was a long-established singles player, so this was all eyes were on her to see exactly what she was capable of in Geek. And honestly, round two honestly, they were like neck and neck with each other after round one. Janine only missed 1 point. John missed 3 points. So Janine had the huge lead going in with 9-7. And then once the reel spun, John gets Wizarding World. He sweeps that entire category and get every question correct. And Janine, unfortunately, she gets DCEU after her second spin, only getting 4 points. John stealing 1 point at the end of it. So John really had the huge lead going in there with 18-13. And then Janine, she did her best, but unfortunately, she just couldn't answer her 5-pointer to stay in the game. And so, yeah, John beating her was a big upset because that just getting Wizarding World was enough to just get a leg up on her.
not only that, I'd say Janine had the advantage in terms of just experience as a singles player. John has relied. I won't say that Greg carries the team or that John carries the team or vice versa, but they work very well in tandem together and they fill in each other's gaps. So it's always interesting when you get to see them perform on their own and gain an appreciation for some of their individual strengths, where we saw John's Potter knowledge showcased phenomenally there.
Exactly.
Well, you know how like teams have an A player and a B player? When you say on this particular team, when you say they're both the A players at certain times?
Oh yeah, at certain times, without a doubt.
Personally, for me, it always depends on how well they do in the match because their performances can change any single time. But yeah, I would have to say on most occasions, John could always be the one who's on top of his game, and then Greg could be the one picking up not picking up the slack, but he's the one really supporting John, like being the best partner as can be.
I'll just kind of put this thought out there, and you guys can correct me if you think I'm incorrect or give your thoughts or whatever. I think Greg is more consistent in answering popular movies and general knowledge that the average fan would know. He's more consistent in that recall, whereas John is capable of those deep pulls that nobody sees coming. Some of those just random 5-pointers where he may let the ball drop on something where we're all like, that was a little more obvious, but his proclivities are a little more obscure, and he has these deep passions in these certain genres that it serves him in certain situations. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. 100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% correct, honestly. John has, especially in the free-for-all, John has shown that there are movies that he has watched that he can be able to pull answers out of. And Greg, he is simply just part of, he always covers the surface level questions of popular films. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, if you're looking at their strengths alone, Greg and John, they are big strengths, like in comic book movies or action adventure or even with horror films, because both John and Greg like horror films. But every now and then, John's able to pull a question like randomly, like maybe out of like rom-coms or something out of DiCaprio or Oscar movies, And Greg, he'll come if it's something more of the line of crime films or maybe a comedy, he's able to cover that area. So that's 100% correct. These guys know exactly what areas they're strong in. But still, when it comes to wheels, they do have a tendency not to be on the right page, but not to listen to each other. Because at the live event, John has always been the kind of guy to where, let's spin again. And then Greg's kind of like, I want to stick with this and, go for it. Like, Greg's not afraid to tackle a category he feels might work for them, but then doesn't pay benefits. So in the end, when it comes to it, I think they're just there for the trivia moment. They're not there for the strategy. They're not always there to be the one to get the big wins, to get belts. I mean, I'm pretty sure they want to get belts, but yeah, they're there for the fun. They're there to have to be entertaining, and they're there to just be there and make friends and enjoy themselves. I think
can I just say, if they study, I think it could be a top level team for sure.
Yeah, I'll put a pin in the thing that I wanted to say beforehand. I'll circle back to this because it's the perfect time you bring this up. I was going to say they were already, solid enough players as was, but once, they had a brief stint with the Young Bucks where the Wenger formerly known as Cobster, was their manager briefly, but we never really saw much of that. The first time that they joined like a full-fledged faction in the Mouthy Mercs and had like a dedicated manager in Koi, that's when we saw their performance just like skyrocket, especially in Intergeekdom. So to me, that kind of says that they are these journeyman players that kind of rely on the knowledge that's already there. They don't necessarily study. They don't I'm sure they do. They prepare for their matches, but they don't have a regimen like Bateman, for lack of a better comparison there. He's probably he and Kalinowski are probably the prime examples of study regimens. But anyway, in my instance, I always found the players just to wrap up my thoughts.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
For my particular taste, I always kind of I find myself drawn more to the players that rely on that natural knowledge. But you do have to kind of wonder if they became like a Bateman level studier or a Kalinowski level studier, how damaging and how devastating could they be?
That's always like something that's one thing I love looking at the ether in this. And I do think Greg most importantly in Intergeekdom, I think he can, if he really gets down to it, studies, I think he can be that dangerous player to jump to be a real true threat in IG League, because in his IG match against Warfather, I mean, he nearly goes perfect. Well, maybe not nearly. I mean, he misses 2 questions though. But if he was more up to date with Star Wars and Middle Earth, he could definitely be a really genuine threat. I mean, he gets MCU against. I mean, he's great with the comic book areas because in his match against Warfather, he gets MCU, only gets 8 points, but still maintains a solid lead. He steals, and I mean, Warfather, I mean, that was not his best performance, but still, Greg had set the table and set the deck he set the stacks against Warfather, so it was most likely Warfather's match to lose and not Greg's to win. But with that knockout victory against him, and I don't mean TKO, I mean a genuine knockout, that did set Greg on a pedestal. And then looking at his match against KO, all Greg had to do, if Greg had gotten his 3-pointer in Trek, everything could have been different. Instead of Mike going up against Zipper, we could have seen Greg going up against Zipper. Or hell, best what if scenario, what if it was Greg going up against Chance in the finals? I mean, hell, or Greg going up against Alex Damon in the round 3. Would we have seen Damon going up against Chance? Anything could have happened.
Really could have.
Here's a question for you. What if next season, what if in the draft we have a wire situation where they get split up? Who would work as a manager for each of the players?
What manager would take them? Oh.
What manager can you see working well with them?
Do you have anybody in mind for each player? Why don't you start?
I could see Greg maybe working well with Winston.
I could see that for sure.
And maybe Sean. Hell, make him a hero and give him to Shannon.
It's funny, as you were saying it, like that's exactly what I was thinking too. You look at somebody like Adam Collins, where she was able to take. And to be fair, John, not a knock against Adam at all, but John has a more defined personality, for lack of a better way of saying it. It's easier to say what his defining characteristics are. But she's able to, and this kind of ties back to something I want to say before, in terms of the team dynamic, especially in regards to the wheel. if we just mentioned Shrek, it's kind of funny. I would say Greg is the Kirk, where John is the Spock.
Yeah.
Greg's a little more headstrong, but John will be a little more quiet and reserved, but kind of rely on logic, even though he's a total zany, kooky guy. So I could totally see a situation where Shannon takes that potential there and finds a way to refine it and take that zaniness and just isolate it and purify it and make it into a very entertaining heel. I could totally see that.
Can you imagine a team with Elliot and John out of corruption?
Well,
Elliot and John, yeah, I think that's a interesting pairing. I think Elliot is especially more recently, is a little more cutthroat. He could balance out John that way.
yeah, he could. Personally, I still see Coy can work great with either John or Greg if he drafts one of them and he couldn't get the other. But I can also see Sam working very well with John as well because, or Greg either, because Sam is very quick-witted. He has a sharp mind. He's a sharp tongue. So I can see him definitely working well, balancing with Greg or with John, and especially if Rachel is still going to be like an advisor and more of I could see Rachel maybe helping Greg with his knowledge, with some IG knowledge.
Absolutely, very good.
And then,
yeah, agreed.
without a doubt, and then also without seeing it, possibly. I don't know. Gucci, he's becoming a heel again, but
I don't see them working out with you.
It wouldn't shock me if he tried to get them. I'm not saying I could see them working with Gucci, but it wouldn't shock me if he drafts one of them just to be there. But it wouldn't work. I don't think at that moment it wouldn't work. So honestly, the managers I truly see is either Coy, Sam. Winston. Yes. Heck, maybe if Jim Davis, Kate maybe. Kate could probably get.
It sounded like you were just about to say Roxy, and I was going to say if we take the same line of thinking that we took with Shannon and John, where she turned him into like a full-fledged heel, I think you could say the same thing for Roxy, but she could turn him into a full-fledged face in that regard.
I don't know. Roxy has.
Roxy.
More of a sass character, but at the same time, even though despite her manager style, Roxy is more like Shannon. Shannon this season has shown that she, like with Dewberry, she wants to corrupt her players. But with Roxy, she wants to bring the best out of them. So I do agree with you in that statement. The reason why I changed my mind from Roxy is because in IG, I don't think she has that. Just like when she openly admitted with Damon when it came to Star Wars, she doesn't know much about Star Wars, so there's not much she can do to help. I know she's done after shows for DC. She's definitely a big DC fan. She does a lot of stuff. She does a lot of talk about nerd entertainment, nerd culture and entertainment culture on her show. But to me, I think she needs a strong IG player in her faction in order to help work and coach and work alongside them. Outside of Damon, whose only slight weakness was DC and his match against Kalinowski, within her current, it's going to be a brand new year, but I'm just saying she needs someone strong, a strong IG player without doubt. To also with Damon, I don't see that with John or Greg. That's why I thought with Kate, because if she gets Ben Goddard will definitely, without a doubt, go 100% back into the pool in IG. And he's also he has a great personality and a good sharp tongue to where I think John or Greg can help him mentally when it comes with just playing the game, because we saw with Ben Goddard last season, he gets distracted and then it sticks in. So you saw earlier on that he was not yet well adjusted to the commentary or the back and forth ribs.
I could really see a Greg Ben Goddard pairing working out.
Here's the thing. I don't think Goddard is named with Kate. I didn't see him going somewhere else. I don't know where, but I don't see him staying with Kate.
You don't?
No.
I kind of agree with you on that.
Look, if it's been, I think it's been, the Zaflirt and Flaus and Smith match I played, Kate's no longer going to be very comical with her character now. She's dropped the Chicago accent. She's going to be 100% serious. So she's still going to be funny without a doubt, but her change in character, her change in attitude now, especially after her rookie season, I still think that Kate she didn't have a terrible rookie season as a manager. She just needed a good support system, and I think now with her coming in really going to get her hands deep into Schmoedown study and Schmoedown managing. I think if she does retain Goddard, she is going to be hands-on, like what Roxy and Winston were, kind of like what Coy was as well. She's going to be a very guiding force. If she doesn't retain Ben, okay, I completely understand that. But I think now that Kate's going to be taking more of a serious attitude, and if she does retain Ben, I think either Greg or John can be perfect because they have been in this game long enough to where none of the mental jabs or the barbs or the constant ribbing bothers them enough to where they can prepare Ben in matches to when Mark does certain like jokes or does the caca thing, it won't distract him to where Ben can be the serious IG player he wants to be.
I mean, the draft is going to be very interesting. I can't wait for the draft.
I know we're going to talk a lot more, but let's talk about our favorite matches of the Real Rejects or of their or other singles matches alone. Like we'll go with you, Ben. What match did you love with the Real Rejects? Rewatching the old matches.
I always say I love the Real Rejects versus the Double Toasted. I think that was a good entertaining match and really exciting to watch, but it didn't come down to that final question.
That match. I mean, it wasn't. That is a very good match though, because that was 100. I'm not gonna lie. That was without a doubt the most chaotic match, especially their entrances. If you saw the entrances.
I love how they take to the bread. That was perfect. That was beautiful.
And then, oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. Oh my god, I gotta quickly look up. Keep talking. I'm trying to think of Double Toasted.
And Corey and
I want to say that's not it. Oh my god, I feel like an idiot not knowing.
I can't think of the other guy's name either.
Corey was the one who attacked them, who did like a wrestling style to where he jumped them after they had attacked the toast. Martin was the one in the fedora hat. He was the one who got the 3-pointer to secure their win. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
Okay. No, it's just like, that was a very chaotic match going into it, looking at Double Toasted. I mean, only Martin and John were the really top-heavy players in that match. Because they were it was still very neck and neck. After round 1, it was only around the point of, like, Real Rejects were only behind by 2 points. And then going into round 2, they get Nolan for their 9-pointer. They end up doing great. No steals were made. So they were able to have a great lead going in because Double Toasted, they only start off first. Corey misses a 2-pointer in drama, but then Martin saves them with that 3-pointer in crime to where it went back to the Rejects. They get their 2-pointer in scores, and then they get their 3-pointer in war. Oh, yes. That 5-pointer of Clay Pigeons. Jesus Christ. If you want to talk about questions that's going to shake you to your core, that one was just, what the hell?
I didn't even know about that movie.
I'm having a hard time remembering the question off the top of my head, I'll be honest.
No, I mean, I believe the question was, it was the Rejects 5-pointer. And after Double Toasted had gotten their 5-pointer in Pixar, it went to the Rejects. If they had gotten that 5-pointer, the game would have been theirs. And that Clay Pigeons question, I mean, oh, Jesus Christ. It's just like one of those situations to where people want to complain about the pointers being easy this season. Really look back at season 4 and then look at these 5-pointers and then ask yourself, would you have gotten that question? I mean, of course, you're at home, you pause it, you can look up the movie and go, oh, yeah, I would have gotten that. If you had to look up the movie to find out you have gotten that question, you really answered my question that you really wouldn't have. But I'm not passing judgment on anybody. even after rewatching that, I looked up the movie myself to see if I've ever heard of this. No, I have not.
Who's in it?
Clay pigeons.
Who?
No, that's I'm not sure if that's the movie itself, but that was the subject.
There's a 98 crime comedy movie written by Matt Healy and directed by Dave Dobkin. Stars Joaquin Phoenix and Vince Vaughn, so chances are it probably was the.
Yeah, it was a 90s. There was a 90s question. It was a 90s question. So yeah, that is exactly it.
Oh, was the question about Jean Garofalo? Because I see that she was in it as well, and I remember there was
go ahead.
There was a match where there was somebody guessed Jean Garofalo.
Yeah, I remember. I forget which match that was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't. When I take notes on this stuff, I don't write specifics. Unfortunately, I just write down what the categories were. I'm pretty sure.
You're a step ahead of me. I'm just going off the top of my dome here. So
no, that's pretty good though. Yeah, but even then, it was still like a very fun match to watch. It. What state it took place in? Yeah, I'm sorry. It's right there. We're overthinking this, honestly.
I can't see the chat, so it's.
Oh, sorry.
I guess I could just click over on comments. That's my
bad. Can you bring that back up real quickly?
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, what state it takes place in. Yeah, that's pretty much, that was the question. What state in which the film The Clay Pigeons take place in? That stars Vince Vaughn. I mean, the reason why I think they said I guess they were guessing to believe that Jeanine Garofalo was, and she is in the movie. That's one thing they remembered. I guess the fact they just couldn't remember the state. But
well, I'm looking at the Wikipedia article for the movie right now, and they don't mention the state anywhere, so that really is like a deep
I am
cut.
looking quickly. I googled the movie, and it does say within the premise, it does says in a small Montana town.
Oh, okay.
Montana. But you know,
a deep cut. Who? I mean, unless you're from Montana, how many towns from Montana can you name?
No, if you have seen that movie, it would have been easy to pick off. But Jay, you mentioned earlier on, I mean, the fact that after they beat the Wingers, they formed a stable, the Young Bucks. After that match, Christian Rubicoblis, Copster, he decides to step away as their speaking voice, into where in their post interview, it's more of like, oh, it's RB3's turn now, and then they just go buck wild on anybody, and I just love that. I love that post interview. It was amazing. RB3 really just goes loose on the mic with Greg and John being like party animals. Like, no, it's your turn, man. You can go on for now. We're going for the Young Bucks. We're going for Patriots. We're going for anybody in our way. Top 10. Screw you guys.
That's a pretty good RB3, man.
Yeah, you're young.
Seeing a lot, seeing him making fun of Michael B. Jordan, to where I'm like, oh, it's that easy to do RB3. I can do anything like that. I just can't get his laugh down.
That's his bread and butter right there. You take his laugh, he'll be coming for you.
Oh God, yeah, I would not be surprised later on if all of a sudden we get like a message and RB3 goes, "I saw your episode, man. What the hell? That's my laugh. That's my thing."
Well, actually, when you're trying to make a laugh like that,
I'd be like, what on first cut? I decided to mock your hairstyle and your beard attempt. I'm like, hey, man, my hairstyle is my own, RB3. You stick to yours. I won't touch your laugh, okay? I'm okay. I really hope nobody clips this out and sends it to RB3. He's gonna be like, what the hell are they talking about? Why do you guys hate me? No, we don't hate you. We're just having some fun.
No, we love RB3.
Yeah. Can't really cover him on here.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh, we're gonna talk about RB3, but it's more on the whole subject of the Wingers as a group. Yeah. That's not a tease, guys. That's actually something I put down on the schedule. We're going to be talking about the Wingers in whole, and that's going to be Christian Rubicopoulos, Copster, RB3, Cody Hall, and Andres Cabrera. All four of those men. And if you guys are wondering why we're including Andres Cabrera, there's a Collider Wiki. Just click on the Wingers, and then just look at the B team. That was in season 2. And that was a 3-man team consisting of Copster, Cody, and Ace going up against Team Champs, which was Dan Murrell and Mark Riley. So, and also the fact of Ace's career, I mean, there's gonna be a lot to talk about all four of these men.
Oh, definitely.
That's going to be a packed episode. Hopefully, you guys reaching out to anybody to hop on that one with you.
Well, I mean, honestly, I have that episode pinned down in March, so who knows what we're going to get.
Yeah, we have time.
Well, just to kind of bring it back to Real Rejects for one quick second, here's a segue for you. You mentioned how you're going to kind of take all the wangers and lump them in an episode, and we kind of did that today with the Real Rejects with John and Greg. We spoke about their team performance as well as some of their solo performances, but I feel we'd be remiss. I know this is a Schmoedown show, but there was I'm sure many of the Schmoedown fans are also familiar with Screen Junkies, and it's a show that's defunct now, but I'm sure a lot of people, they either found movie fights through the Schmoedown or vice versa. And movie fights came back around late 2017 with a revamped format. And Greg Alba quickly became one of my favorite competitors in that new format. He is excellent at that one-on-one debate movies format. So he is. I would love to see him if there's an opportunity to incorporate more of those. I mean, obviously the Schmoedown is very much defined and chugging along in its way. But if there are ever opportunities for open-ended questions, I think that is a platform that Greg absolutely thrives on. And I'd love to see him be given that platform if possible.
Oh no, you're not wrong. I came across. I mean, I was definitely aware of movie fights through Screen Junkies because of honest trailers. But then looking back at their old stuff, like, Greg, he is very great. After they get past the whole 3-in-1 thing, seeing Greg do the one-on-one debate style, like when he's able to really get his time in, he really articulates and he really tries to get down to the to the meat and potatoes of his point when he is discussing movies. John, sometimes it takes him a while because it's just like he's trying to build something there. But Greg, he's kind of like, oh no, I want to talk about something. I'm going to talk about it right now, and I think it worked very well in his promos too. Yeah, I'm trying to look on the Schmoedown quick to see if they have their entrance at the rap promo they did against the series, and it is not there. All they have is just Greg's entrance at the free for all, and I have no problem wanting to share that here.
Do it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm still trying to look for it. I'm still trying to look for it because it is a great goddamn entrance. Honestly, it was just. Oh my god, I was just so heartbroken because the rap they do in that episode is amazing. Just seeing how Greg and John are truly showing themselves as showmen as they are breaking down the Wild Berries. And the Wild Berries does a great job counteracting them later on with that match. I mean, even if there's not good, I'm still going to pull that. I'm still going to find and pull that up. But Ben, no problem. I will bring up Greg's entrance at the free-for-all because I'm using this as a great transition to talk about the Wild Berries. I mean, to talk about the Real Rejects entrances alone.
Put it up, shit.
Okay.
Yeah, just while you're pulling it up, just off the top of my head, I know for the Wild Berries live entrance, it was like Greg came out, and that's the thing. It's one thing to have like a performance, but to actually have some substance and actually some hits that actually like hit home. Because I know some of the things that Greg said about Makuga got him in some hot water after the fact, just like having listened to Collider Live and stuff like that. But then John followed up like right off the bat with like such momentum.
You want to play?
Ben, yeah, if you're ready, we're gonna play this. Just make sure our mics are completely muted for this. So, wait, hold on. Can you hear the sound?
I don't know.
Can you hear sound? Hold on, I'm going to play it. Is sound coming through?
No.
Oh. Maybe it's, I don't know. Hold on, let me double check something. But, just take that off for a second while I try to check with sound. We can keep talking about them. But, yeah, that entrance, though, I mean, let's just talk about the live event. Let's talk about the first live event. The fact it is the Wild Berries and the Real Rejects as that undercard. I mean, if there was no better way, Christian, he knew exactly what kind of matches he needed for that first live event to really get that crowd going. Because how else are you going to try to get people invested in Schmoedown live events if it's not something worth seeing?
Without a doubt. And I think there's a lot to be said. We already mentioned Double Toasted, but back to back, two of the most high profile matches in early Schmoedown, Christian chooses the Real Rejects. Like he obviously sees the talent that's there, the professionalism. I mean, these guys have their own YouTube channel they've been doing for a number of years to a varied level of success. So
they formed like some very great relationships with people in the Schmoedown too, because when the Real Rejects did like their own like live show like in LA, they had like Stacey Howard like help them out. They've reached, I think even RB3 has helped them out in certain in avenues. Like the one thing I loved about the Schmoedown community is just the connections that they form, and exactly the fact that they're so fun to be around. I mean, who would not want to exactly have the Wildberries just with them? Oh my God. See, I'm so confusing them together because the Wildberries and Real Rejects, they're just so good together. They're so entertaining. I would have loved to have seen a mega faction of the Wildberries and the Real Rejects together. Like all the losses, knowing the belt, all the points.
well, you know, go ahead, Ben.
I think it would a really fun what if match. Josh McCougar and Greg Alma versus Elliot and John Humphreys.
Okay.
Imagine that match.
That'd be cool.
That would be a good match.
It's kind of like wife swap or partner swap.
Yeah, exactly.
I was kind of thinking in terms of where the Wildberries and the Real Rejects faced off, where it was kind of like, it's almost like a passing of the mantle.
Yeah.
Whereas I would kind of like to see the Real Rejects now play, even though they're no longer a team, it would still be cool to see them play Team Action, because I feel like Team Action kind of took, or Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy have kind of taken that mantle in terms of being those bombastic live personalities for those live shows.
Yeah.
Christian has really leaned heavily into both of those guys for those high profile matches.
Yeah. Okay. I know I did say earlier that we talk about our favorite what if match. Like not what if match. When we talked about the Wildberries against Real Rejects. I mean, no, I'm sorry. When I said our favorite Real Rejects match. Okay, that was a fun entrance.
They're not wrong, though. They're not wrong. It took forever to get them on Movie Talk, first of all, and then Collider Live after that. It took way too long.
Okay, that was so goddamn good. Thank you, Leo, for reminding me of the Real Rejects entrance at the live event. Yeah, I was so focused on the rap that I just skipped past their entrances. But yeah, that was funny. Yeah, just slowly coming down. They're like, wait, what the hell are they playing? But as I was saying earlier, like we had Ben talk about his favorite Real Rejects match. Jay, what was your favorite Real Reject match? Was it the live event or was it another one they played?
I would say, yeah. As far as favorite match goes, it would have to be the live event. Even though they didn't win, they brought the entertainment, and that's what they do.
Absolutely.
I mean, and Double Toasted is definitely a close contender for me as well for the same exact reasons. They're this team. We've spoken a lot about their knowledge and their skill, and it's there. But it just goes to show that 2 out of the 3 people talking about them are favorite matches they didn't even win.
I mean, imagine this as a faction. Wildberries, Real Rejects, and Double Toasted all on one faction together.
That would have been the craziest faction in the world. I mean, who would have imagined seeing that?
You have to find like a perfect manager to manage all that chaos. But if you knew, it would have been glorious.
It would be legendary.
I mean, obviously, it's just amazing to see exactly what can I do to want to. I mean, it's unfortunate at this point. I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, how's it possible? Because the Wild. You know what? I don't want to keep lounging on this subject, but I do want to keep talking about. But I do. My favorite match of the Rejects obviously is the live event, but a second close one is their match against Cuckoo's Mess when they came out. That match itself, that was definitely the Rejects like really at their top.
That was when he got with Almo wore the V-mask and he kept pulling off a different mask. Was that the mask in the match?
No, it was the same. It was the Roca mask. But then after they come out, Roca, of course, interrupts them, be like, don't wear this mask, and then of course he and Greg have a great back and forth. And when Roca runs away, John has a second V mask like right underneath them, just handing it to Greg. It was just like it's a funny moment. Actually, speaking of live event, instead of the Greg Alba match, I'm gonna share the clip. I'm gonna share the one of the Rejects of the rap against the Wildberries. So let me pull that up,
please.
So Ben, I have it here. Whenever you are ready, man. Okay. Make sure you guys can hear this time. So.
All right, good thing is that we're going to be able to actually hear from our competitors to see exactly what they feel about the match. Let's go to the pre-interview.
Here we go.
Woo! 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 What's up, El Portal? All right. Now that we got this Schmoedown in my hometown, let me break it down on who we're going up against. Not much to say, so let's keep this shit condensed. We got a hairy berry here named Josh McCouga. A loud beer belly guy can't please his wife's vagina. Oh. The man in the glasses hails from the ETC. Tries to act all tough, but he's from the fucking OC. Man, you think you got a chance to wild berries? Well, tell McCougar there's more movies past the 1980s. After this match, your team is dead. Writing up your obituaries as we put you to bed. Elliot, you might have beat us way back in our very first match. Lost to a question about Tango and Cash. We'll consider this our official rematch. Live it up while you can, because we're going to knock you out in a flash. Johnny, make it a quickie.
All right. First, let me see some hands right now. That's what I need. All right. Check it out. Yeah.
Yep.
From the YO YouTube to the El Portal, I got a few bright ideas for how this all shakes out. Now let me break this thing down for the Reject Nation. We are here, we are hungry, and we're low on patience. Wild berries, it's hilarious. You think that you'll bury us. Fairy dust, I play the hero because you're looking nefarious. Got various areas of movie trivia to carry us. So let me prep your swan song on the world's smallest Stradivarius.
Yeah, that was incredible. Without,
They're so entertaining. I love them so much.
There's never been better bars on a Schmoedown mic since Perry Nemiroff was in Tough Beats.
Oh,
yes. And I can't wait when we talk about Perry Nemiroff looking at her bars. That's going to be so much fun. But yeah, just those bars alone, just seeing Greg out. I love the difference between the two of them in that match too, because Greg, he's simply just doing a simple flow of a rap that most people, if they understand, if they listen to rap music, they can do a basic style. But then you get John Humphrey. The moment it gets to him, he is up in the tempo. He changes the pace. He's really breaking things down into a more syllable like diss. Because Greg is doing a simple diss rap. But John, he gets into where he is really doing a simple like battle rap in a way, kind of like he's not trying to diss you at the same time, but he's trying to set the pace to where you can't keep up with him. And then of course, god damn, it was just great. I mean, I wish I could have been at that live event to watch it. I would have been one of those guys to really get the people like, come on, why are you not yelling louder for them?
Have you been to a live event before?
I've not had an opportunity. It's always like shaking out one way or another. The most recent free for all was going to be my first live event. I had my ticket and everything, and
That sucks. How about you, Lenny?
You been to 11th, Ben? I mean, we've definitely brushed this up with Ben when we've been on the show a couple times, but you have not been to one yet?
No. How about you?
Yeah, I've said this in the past. I've been to the live events. I've been to the live event when the Sharkwolves versus Team Action because when we were talking about Emma Fyfe, my number one was her promo against Team Action, really talking about the Sharkwolves. I did talk about Free for All 3 because I was there in live event as well when Greg Alba made his entrance, and then also I was at Spectacular 4, and I was also at the live event in San Diego when it was Smets against Halavic when Smets had TKO'd him. Well, no, knocked him out, not KO'd, not TKO, KO'd him, and when Mike won against Rachel, and then of course I was at Spectacular 4 when Ben and when Smets once again knocked out Kalinowski to win that IG title. So I've been to 4 recently. I did buy tickets for last year's, what should have been last year's free for all, but it didn't happen. And you know what? This is going to be a quick breakaway from that, but I'm pretty sure most people here have already seen the Schmoedown Awards. You guys seen Schmoedown Awards?
Yep, I did.
Yeah. When Kevin went on with his little, oh no, not the Schmoedown Awards, the rundown afterwards when they had Kevin Smets on. Smets did talk about that he was going to appear at the free for all, and that he and Rachel were going to come out together in a similar form of hoodie matches and makeup, like they were going to in mask. Like Smets had planned an entrance with him and Rachel coming out in the free for all, like in dress up. And I was like listening to what Kevin's ideas were and the opportunities he could have had if COVID didn't happen was insane. Like
You said Rachel. You mean Cushing or him and
Cushing? Yeah, him and Rachel Cushing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go watch. Go back to if people are here, go to the rundown. Go to when they bring Kevin on, and just listen to that interview. It is just it's fantastic. I mean, the rundown is a good show. I guess for me, I don't always stick around to listen to them when they talk about stats of players because anything can happen in a Schmoedown match. And I was only saying I was also talking about that because I also wanted to bring up their entrance against the Cuckoo's Mess, the one where they did come out with where they did make fun of John Roca's, winning entrance of the year.
Yeah.
So Ben, I have that prepared for you as well whenever you're ready. But Jay, you were gonna say something? Go right ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I don't want to interrupt the show too much. I don't know if I'm kind of experiencing some buffering issues. I don't know if that's just me or if it's affecting either of you guys. I just wanted to touch base.
Yeah.
No, you're coming in clear from what I can tell. You're 100% clear on my end.
Yeah.
Okay.
All good.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. I'm gonna play this, and then we can do a wrap up thoughts on the Real Rejects because we don't want to be too long here, guys.
Perfect.
Yeah. So let's do this. All right, guys, ready? Here we go. All right. First.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
Oh God!
I think there's audio there. It's just really low.
All right.
I'm not mistaken.
This sucks because it was playing up so well, and then it's just like you can't hear it. Like crap. Okay, this shouldn't take that long. Yeah, after this, we should definitely wrap this up because otherwise, we're just going to be rambling on about certain moments of the Real Rejects we love talking about. And even though we do want to do that, at the same time, it's kind of like we don't want this to drag on. Okay, here we go. All right.
By their manager, Coy Jandreau, with a career record of 1 win and 5 defeats. Greg, John, the Real Rejects! Look at all. What is the Malcolm has shown up here?
Yeah, I mean, look who's there in attendance with them. It's Bibbs, Kid, Haley Fouch, Mara, all doing the
This
mask.
is out of some sort of nightmare.
I think we're being robbed by the Joker in the Dark Knight.
Absolutely.
I just want to say a senior citizen player stole my Entrance of the Year award last year. This award season.
Here it comes.
Wait a
I
minute.
started to steal his
Greg.
outfit this time around.
Greg he's making reference
Oh,
to
how-
John
how's your-
Roca.
how's
Oh,
your-
wait,
oh,
there's
John
Roca right
Roca.
there.
actually
How's your
here.
ego
There's
today?
Roca right there.
Listen, I'm not taking crap from a guy still wearing Soul Glow in 2019 on his head. For God's sake. Give me that hat. Give me that mask.
John, you should understand my irrational reactions are based off of how you usually behave in this show. That's just where my bitterness behavior has come from today.
And maybe someday you'll win 4 titles, Greg.
Oh, good after that documentary currently available. Schmoedown Patreon.
Just look at that.
There we go.
Just look at that. John, the commitment, wearing 3 masks underneath that hood.
What I loved about that too,
Yeah.
is the acting from John and Greg. There was a second there where I legitimately didn't know if they had real beef with each other for a second.
That's funny thing. When you talked about when I played that clip when we were talking about the live event, you talked about how Greg's rap against Josh put him in hot water, and it's one of the funniest things. Like with Greg, I mean, it's a jokester guy, but that really got me a little worried there. Like, is Roca legitimately pissed off? Because Roca does have a history of not being hot-headed, but really like taking things close to really taking things personally. But then watching the old matches, he and Roca have always had this bit of back and forth with each other, especially in their match against the Wolves of Steel. When they allowed the Wolves of Steel to pick their slice, Roca was one of the 2 people really pissed off about that, taking that shit so seriously to where Greg's like, calm down, Roca. It's just a game. And it's more of a situation. And it's funny because I overlooked that Real Rejects did play against top 10 in the team's tournament in season 4. So we wrap up on the Real Rejects, talking about their overall playability, what we see from moving forward. That match they played against top 10 was also a very interesting, fun match because it was during the time when top 10 was not on the best track because they had just lost to the Patriots a second time in a TKO match. So their match against the Real Rejects was like them trying to get back up on pretty much get back up on track. And looking at that match, they were ahead of the Real Rejects by 4 to 5 points. But but even then, Real Rejects, they only get 6 points because they spin actors and actresses. Top 10 steals a point from them. But even then, Real Rejects in round 3, they get their 2-pointer in War, their 3-pointer in Fantasy Sci-Fi, and their 5-pointer in Biopics to force it back to top 10. Now, top 10 gets their 3-pointer to win, but that would have been an interesting subject if Real Rejects had beaten top 10. Where could they have gone? Would we have gotten top 10 versus Team Action at the Spectacular? Because, Matt, we definitely talked about this with Matt and Nost on how top 10, they were always like team. They had their best game and then they end up having their worst game. They were always they were literally up and down in their career. I can't say the same thing about the Real Rejects because they were always around middle of the road. But you did.
If you don't mind me jumping in real quick.
Go for it.
I think they're probably the most consistent team in the Schmoedown. Like you said, average. You know exactly what they are at all times. When they do well, you get surprised. But they never get too low.
Mm-hmm.
But they always stay at that fine line between good and great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're definitely
I do. Yeah.
Mid-tier, sometimes skewing maybe slightly upper, maybe sometimes slightly lower, but they're pretty generally right there in the middle.
Yeah. I do feel like, yeah. I mean, that's one thing that when Coy drafted him, we saw the greatness of Coy as a manager. He's really able to bring something great out of the Real Rejects. I mean, their match against Cuckoo's Mess, to where they only get 7 points. I mean, it's more the situation where they are the seasoned team going up against rookie teams. But even then, their performances, they go perfect against Cuckoo's Mess. Both John and Greg go perfect against Cuckoo's Mess, only missing the bonus questions. They get 2,000s in round 2, getting 7 points, and they steal a point off of Cuckoo's Mess and Denzel, and they win by TKO because Cuckoo's Mess, they miss their 5-pointer. But still, that was a very strong performance out of both Greg and John. And then their match against the Pride, where they didn't go perfect, but they still kept a very tight game. And then they get opponent's choice in round 2. They get 80s movies. They only get 4 points, but they're able to steal 2 points off of the Pride to keep things interesting. But still, the Real Rejects still end up losing because they missed their 3 and their 5-pointer against the Pride. So if they had gotten their 3-pointer in Dance or their 5-pointer in Pixar, that could have been them really moving forward. We could have seen Real Rejects going up against Final Exam during the August pay-per-view.
Would have been interesting.
But let's definitely wrap up here. Our final thought.
We're not careful.
Yeah. All right, I'll do my final thoughts here with just what I would like to see out of the Real Rejects going forward. We've already said with the draft, it's kind of uncertain whether or not they'll still be a team. They are the longest running standing team, so hopefully they'll continue that record. It'll be tough to beat either way. What I would like to see, I'll go for individuals. Greg, I know the Schmoedown has evolved, and that includes the entrances, especially in the virtual format. But we've already mentioned so many of your classic hysterical performances. I believe you've got that creativity. You do those skits on your channel with John. Knock our socks off with a entrance this season. And for John, free for all.
Yes.
Make it your event again. There have been great players that have come and done phenomenal things in free-for-all and made iconic moments, but you started it. This is the year you take back free-for-all. You don't even have to win it. Just make a splash.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go to my final thoughts with Ben. If I did share another window with you, if you can bring that up. This is just going to be a quick rundown of the Real Reject stats, and I'm going to go down real quick. We see here in season 3. I mean, look, this is just my application. This is not anything perfect or anything. But if you just look at their time in teams, I mean, it was out of their 2 matches they played. If you just look, they got in their round 1. They've only got like a 58% of a combined 7 points because season 3 was a different format. Especially if you see in round 2, getting around 72%. We move into their time in teams in season 4. Their stats don't increase a lot, but they do at least like you said, they are a little more consistent as a team together because seeing as how they if you look at that, they're only able to get certain only point values. They're 5-pointers against the Wingers, they're 2 and 3-pointers against Double Toasted. They get all 3 against Top 10, as I had mentioned earlier on. And then where's their free for all? Okay, free for alls we see John Humphrey. Right there, 11 rounds in that round, becoming an MVP, reverberating back to what Jay said. If they are able, if John is able to really focus more, like really get that manager to get behind him, we could see him once again pull off an amazing run in free for all as he did before. Greg, I mean, look, I'm not saying he's not a great player though, but I'm pretty sure Greg, if he's able to really get someone behind him, he can maybe he can maybe pull off a surprising run in the free-for-all. And then seeing them in Inner Geekdom, just with their records alone. I jumped ahead to the team for a second. Yeah, but looking at Inner Geekdom alone, look at their round 2s together. Both combined points, Greg and John did a combined total of 16 points in both of their matches, getting within the 80 percentile.
Wow.
And even then, with 1 point steals, when you add that up, like they match the same in Inner Geekdom when you really look at their matches against each other. And even then, in the round threes, going up against, I mean, he lost against Barbarian in TKO, missing his questions, but still looking at how he, if they had I'm sorry, I'm losing myself in stats, but I'm saying if they're able to once again focus, shape themselves up, they can truly become top, really dangerous threats in Inner Geekdom, especially Greg, as you see here with his stats. He really can become a truly dangerous player in Inner Geekdom for any manager who's willing to draft them. But really, if I'm going to definitely never stop being entertaining, because that's exactly what keeps bringing them back. No matter what happens in the draft, if they are drafted in the 5th round or the 6th round, it won't matter, because knowing the fact that Greg and John is coming back means that they are entertaining to watch and people see value in them as players. And I want to see more going through. I definitely want to see what they're going to be able to do this season. And ultimately, it's just please don't break up the Real Rejects. Please don't break them up.
Bring it on. That's all I have to say. I will be watching with great interest in Port Ascension Emperor. And that looks great. I can't wait to see what comes next for them.
Yeah, true. Well said, man. Who's ever in the live chat with us or watching on the replay, thank you for joining us. Thank you for clicking on our video. If you guys want to follow us, just follow us on our Twitter handles up above. You can follow mine, which is above me. You can follow Jay Scotty's, which is right next to mine. You can also follow Ben's Twitter handle. Brandon couldn't be with us today, but his Twitter handle is also with us on the top screen. And then if you want to follow our Mount Schmoedown Twitter page, it's all right there at the bottom. We also have a Facebook group page, Mount Schmoedown. If you want to just go onto your search engine on Facebook, look us up, join us, and then you can be able to talk. If you want to share your own Schmoedown after show, we're more than welcome to. And then also we do have 2 of our episodes on Apple on podcast format on Apple and Spotify. We are working to try to get the rest of our episodes on podcast format, but still then just keep on the lookout for us. And this year we're going to try to at least we're definitely stacking up our schedules. Next week, I know for next week we're going to be going back into the realm of Inner Geekdom, as we're going to be talking about Adam Lovick. And the rest of this month we got ourselves some more great episodes stacked up for us. But if there are certain competitors you want us to talk about, go onto our Twitter and, just tweet at us, or, you can message us and say, hey, I want you guys to talk about Janine, or I want to see you guys talk about Stacey Howard, or, Dan Murrell, or JTE, Jeff Snyder. I know this season, Schmoedown is not going to, season 8 is going to be starting very late, but it's still plenty of time to recommend us someone to talk about, because once season 8 gets started, oh boy, there's going to be so many new rookies, so many new teams that it's going to get crazy to keep up with. But
Ryan, they can they also drop their suggestions in the comments on these videos, right?
Yes, they can. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, drop your suggestions in the comments, because it also helps with the YouTube algorithm for us to, next time our feed comes up, it'll keep us within your feed. So the next time I know, so you don't have to worry about. So even though you subscribe to us, you hit that bell. If you leave a comment, we're in the YouTube algorithm. So now you don't have to worry about, oh, did I miss the episode? No, it's right there within your feed the moment you hit onto YouTube.
I would encourage anybody that's a fan of the Real Rejects that watch this episode with us, in the comments, tell us your favorite Real Rejects entrances. Tell us your what if scenarios. What had something played out a different way? What would you have liked to see?
Yes.
Because I never said it better myself.
All right.
I stumbled a little bit, but
hey, I'm literally a stumbling machine here. If people have watched these
We're all good.
there's a lot of words from you in a short amount of time. You kind of ran the show here, so kudos to you. Normally you have Brandon to kind of bounce off of a little bit more, but you did a great job, man.
Thank you very much. Everybody, for Ben, for Jay Scotty, and for Brandon, who wasn't with us, thank you for joining us, and have yourselves a great day.
Bye.